Some people are smarter than others. There's no way around it. If we do an IQ test today, some people will score really high and others will score lower. And if we compare humans with other animals, we obviously have a pretty high IQ ourselves. But things weren't always this way. Until recently, being smart wasn't necessarily advantageous to survival. So, why did human intelligence suddenly start increasing exponentially? What made us so smart? Join us as we look at how human intelligence evolved. As we said, if we were to take an IQ test today, some people would get very high scores while others would get low scores. The average person might score about 100. But it isn't that long ago that a person would have scored 70 or even 80 if they took the same test. However, today's 70 or 80 is not representative of intelligence during previous eras. For most of our existence, a person with an IQ above 70 was considered quite intelligent. For example, Homo erectus is thought to have lived between 2 million and 117,000 years ago. They were around for a very long time. But the earliest members of the species appeared in Africa roughly 2 million years ago. Their brain size was much smaller than ours, though they had larger brains than earlier hominids. They were capable of making tools, hunting and gathering food, and using fire, but they probably didn't have language. It's also believed that they were the first hominins to migrate out of Africa. Some believe they migrated into what is now Israel, while others believe they moved into Europe. Homo habilis, who lived from about to 4 million to 800,000 years ago, is considered one of our earliest ancestors. They were the first to make stone tools, which suggests a level of intelligence. But they, too, had smaller brains and probably couldn't speak. While they used tools, they were still mostly vegetarians and spent a lot of time scavenging for food. It wasn't until Homo sapiens came along that we started to see significant changes in terms of intelligence. Homo sapiens emerged in Africa around 300,000 years ago. By about 100,000 years ago, they had spread across the globe. When compared to other early humans such as Neanderthals and Denisovans, modern humans clearly show higher levels of intelligence. Our brains are bigger, and we possess complex language abilities, abstract thinking, imagination, and creativity. However, we don't think these traits just suddenly appeared. All humans alive today belong to the same species, Homo sapiens. In order for all of these advanced traits to evolve at once, there would have had to been a genetic change of some kind. But scientists haven't been able to point to any particular gene that caused this evolution. In fact, they haven't been able to pinpoint any genes responsible for intelligence in general. They're still trying to find them. But it's likely that environmental factors played a role, too. Humans are known to have started burying their dead around 100,000 years ago, which shows a certain level of intelligence. They were also capable of making spears for hunting. This was a much more effective means of getting food than foraging or scavenging. Humans started working together in groups to hunt, and this required advanced communication skills. Humans probably started making cave paintings around 40,000 years ago. This shows an ability to think abstractly, as well as a creative streak that we don't see in other animals. But these paintings also show something else. They show that humans were starting to develop religion. And this may be one of the biggest reasons for our intelligence. There's a theory that the development of religion and spirituality sparked the evolution of intelligence. It is hard to say whether humans had a spiritual awakening or whether they developed intelligence first and then came up with spirituality as a byproduct. But researchers believe that the two may have fed off of each other. In the book Sapiens, A Narrative of Human History, Yuval Noah Harari writes that the cognitive revolution is the defining characteristic of the modern world. He believes that about 70,000 years ago, humans experienced a sudden increase in mental capabilities that allowed us to develop new technologies, come up with new ideas, and use language to communicate complex thoughts. He attributes a lot of this to storytelling. According to Harari, humans have an extraordinary ability to create stories. Unlike any other animal, we can believe in things that aren't actually there. And this belief is what led to the cognitive revolution. People could imagine things that never existed and tell stories about them to other people. These stories could then inspire people to do incredible things, like build pyramids or go on scientific expeditions. He writes that, before the cognitive revolution, life was tough for humans. Food was scarce, predators were everywhere, and diseases ran rampant. He believes that the ability to cooperate flexibly in large numbers is what ultimately gave humans the upper hand over other animals. Humans could come together to perform tasks that would have been impossible alone. And the ability to work together in large groups is what eventually led to cities, countries, and multinational corporations. Our need to cooperate led to the development of language, which helped us communicate our thoughts and ideas to others. Language also helped us preserve history. Stories were passed down orally for generations before they were written down, and these stories helped future generations learn from the past. Anthropologist John Tooby says that humans have what's called a hyperactive theory of mind. This means that we can easily attribute mental states to ourselves and others. This gives us the ability to imagine what other people are thinking and feeling. This helps us to predict their behavior and figure out how to work with them. It is also thought that our ability to plan for the future and remember the past is what sets us apart from other animals. Another reason for our intelligence is sexual selection. This is when certain traits become exaggerated through the mating process. Male peacocks have large, colorful tails because females prefer them. This is why male chimpanzees have bigger testicles than any other primate. In human males, having a big brain is considered attractive, and this is why our brains got so big over time. There's also evidence to suggest that humans went through a process called domestication, similar to the domestication of plants and animals. Human beings used to live in small groups of hunter-gatherers. As these groups grew, more people meant more competition for resources. Scientists believe that humans became domesticated from groups living under these conditions. Those humans with more desirable traits, like bigger brains, were more likely to survive and reproduce, passing their desirable traits to their children. So, what led to the sudden increase in intelligence? There are multiple theories. One is that it happened gradually. Others believe it was linked to the development of language or the emergence of religion. Some believe it happened suddenly, like a light switch being flipped on. There's no denying that humans are smart today, but the road to intelligence was a long and winding one. We share 98% of our DNA with chimpanzees, our closest living relatives. Chimpanzees have been studied extensively, and scientists have learned a lot about their behavior. One thing that's become clear is that chimps aren't as smart as humans. They can't use tools, solve complex problems, or develop advanced language skills. However, researchers believe that they once had the potential to do these things. One study published in the journal Science Advances suggested that chimpanzees lost their ability to develop advanced cognitive skills about 6 million years ago. This was after they diverged from the lineage that led to humans. According to the researchers, a genetic mutation slowed down their brain development, which in turn affected their intelligence. Today, chimpanzees have an average IQ of about 25 to 50, while this is lower than the IQ of many humans. It's still higher than the IQ of most animals. Dolphins, for example, have an estimated IQ of about 5. The average dolphin has a brain that is about twice the size of a human brain, but they don't use it very effectively. Dogs have an estimated IQ of about 20. Some studies suggest it's closer to 50, but regardless, they're still considered to be less intelligent than humans. So, what makes us so smart? We're not sure, but it's likely due to a combination of genetics and environment. Whatever the reason, it's clear that human intelligence has increased dramatically over the past few thousand years. And there's no sign of it slowing down anytime soon.